I have the sheet from last week. If not, I have a few extra sheets here. Here's the sheet that we're up to. Yeah. Okay, so this Sicha Chayesara, remember we did this last week. The Sicha is where the Rebbe is speaking to the Shluchim. And the point of the Sicha is that from time to time, there's a new dimension to Shlichus, which means there's certain ideas which are common all times, all the years, all different shluchim. Doesn't matter where you are, what you are. Every shliach has the same sort of shlichus, and that is to bring people to learn Torah, to do mitzvahs, to keep Shabbos, kosher, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Pesach, Hanukkah, Shavuos, Purim, and so on. However, from time to time, there's a very specific shlichus, and that the specific shlichus becomes the gateway for everything else. And this means, like, there was a time when the Rebbe introduced the tefillin, the time that introduced the neshek, the times that the Rebbe introduced every person to have a pushka in their home, write a Sefer Torah. The Rebbe says now we're talking about introducing something which is recently new, but this has become now the call of the hour. You know, there's a call of the hour right now. This is what's most urgent. And this is something which is not just another detail in Yiddishkeit, but something which encompasses everything in Yiddishkeit, and that is to prepare ourselves and to prepare the world for Mashiach. How does that happen? So we learned it last week. I want to go over that one paragraph, and then we'll go back to something which we skipped last week, because I wanted to do. So let's look at page 97. This is the Sicha of Hayesara Tavshinum Beis. The one that's in Hebrew with the vowels. And where the Rebbe spells out, but practically, technically, in very simple words, what am I saying? What are you supposed to be doing? So this is the second paragraph on page 97, in the first column. V'akavana b'pashtus. The intention is very simple. Shemekinus hashluchim tzrichim lovei ulahavi achlatas tovos. We have to bring good resolutions. The Kinus should produce good resolutions about what? Keitzad kol shliach tzarich liskainen atzmei. How does every shliach prepare himself? The word atzmei, by the way, is in bold. Usually means the Rebbe underlined it. You know, these sichas were edited by the Rebbe. Every sicha the Rebbe looked through it, made sure that everything was intact. I don't know if you ever saw. I should bring it in one day, just a page to see how the Rebbe edited sichas. Every little detail was paid attention to, a comma, periods, where something starts, changing just a word. So when you see something in bold, that means the Rebbe underlined it. Prepare myself, is called B'nai Yisrael b'Mekayimah, and to prepare all the Yidden in their place or in their city. The Kabbalah's play Mashiach Tzidkenu to receive Mashiach. So that's number one, to prepare myself and everybody else around me how to receive Mashiach. And now the Rebbe says, and how do you do that? So that's the next line. By explaining what Mashiach is all about, and explaining it, explaining it as it's written in the written Torah, and as it is in the oral Torah. And here the Rebbe makes a special emphasis that when you explain it, this is not just something to push people into and to overwhelm them with something very exciting, but to do it in a way that they can understand it. Again, you notice it's bold, that means it was underlined. To explain it to every person according to their intellectual capacity, which means if you're talking to adults, talking to children, talking to people who have knowledge of Torah, people who have no knowledge of Torah, people that are religious, people that are not religious. You have to be able to explain it to every person according to their capacity, their background, where they're coming from. A little bit like we learned in the Maimon just before. We have to explain it to the Nefesh HaBahamis in a way that it could understand. Of course, it means to learn what it says in the Torah about Mashiach HaGula, like learning Rambam, learning Gemara, learning the Psukim and Chumash, learning Midrashim, where it talks about Mashiach. Befrat, Ba'ifin Shal Chachma, Bina V'das. Again, re-emphasize. Has to be learned and studied in a way that we're using our Chachma and Bina and Das. In other words, has to be absorbed and internalized intellectually to understand it. One might think, but maybe there are certain people that are not ready for that. So the Rebbe concludes with these words: being that this is the Aveda, this is the call of the hour. Harei moving, it's understood. So the Shaykh this is the call of the hour that every Yid it's relevant to every single Yid. There's nobody. There's absolutely no exceptions. So there's nobody that you can say, no, they're not ready for it. What you could say is they're not ready to learn about this, they first have to learn about that. They're not ready to relate to this idea, they have to relate to another idea. I have to explain it this way, explain it that way. But to say that I can't talk, let's say, about Mashiach, because the people in my community are not ready for that, there's no such thing, because there is no exception. But how to talk and what to say depends a lot on who the people are and what would help them understand it and internalize it. So now, I want to go back to this paragraph that I skipped. To understand this better, let me give out this sheet, if you don't mind, maybe. Whenever there's a Kinus, they have a sort of a theme of what the Kinus is all about. That theme is usually a banner. Sometimes they have it on the booklet that they give out with the schedule. They always have it probably on that booklet with the schedule, but they also have a banner, and the Rebbe relates to that in the Sicha. After the Rebbe explained that the whole purpose now is about bringing Mashiach, he starts with these words. So we're on page 96, the second column, the last paragraph on the bottom. Kumudgish the Neise HaKinus. This is emphasized in the theme of the Kinus. Yeah, page 96. Yeah. What?
It moved from 97 to 96.
Yeah, because when I did it last week, I skipped. I wanted to make the connection between the first part and this part. Now we're going back to the middle. As it's emphasized in the theme of the Kinus. This is the theme of the Kinus. These words, Kol Yemei Chayecha, L'Havi L'Meisa Mashiach. Where did these words come from? So turn the page that I gave you to the side that has the Haggadah. This is the Haggadah of Pesach. You might recognize it from the Haggadah. Let's do the whole paragraph so we have a clear understanding. Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah. Rabbi Lezer ben Azariah said these words. Hooray, this is a Mishnah. It's a Mishnah in the Tractate of Brachos. Hooray anik ben shim shana. I am like a man of 70 years old. Everyone, I think, knows why he said, I'm like a man of 70 years old. Right? What? He wasn't. He was 18 years old.
Oh.
Remember the story? That's someone else. No, he didn't wake up with a bed, but he fell asleep for 70 years. That was Cheni Hamago. With him, the story is he was 18 years old, and the Nasi, the one who was the head of all the Yidden, the highest position, there was a reason they removed him temporarily. So they needed someone new in his place. And they felt that he was the right person. And he felt too humble to take that position. So it says in Gemara that he said, I'll do what our sages say to do, consult with your wife. So he consulted with his wife. And his wife said, you're so young, happy. And these sages were twice his age, 5 times his age. How could he go be the head? He woke up the next morning, and I think it said he had 18 strands of hair, but part of his beard turned white. So the hair on his head turned white. So he understood that as a sign from Shemayim that he should take the position, which means even though chronologically he's 18 years old, but Hashem is letting him know that you're like an older person. That's another explanation according to the Arizal. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But the simple explanation was that he was 18, but he looked like 70. I just need to insert something that everyone said, a beautiful thought, and that is that that means that Hashem did something which is not true. The person externally looks like he's 70. In reality, he's only 18, so he's not fit for the position. But because externally it looks like 70, he can have the position. It seems to be something which is not true. And Shemayim wouldn't do something which is not true. So it must be that he didn't only make his beard turn white. It meant that when he woke up in the morning, he found that he had the wisdom that comes with being 70 years old. In other words, he had wisdom of a 70-year-old, and therefore it was something internal that changed, not just external. What Ariel Malka is saying is that the Rizal says another reason, according to Kabbalah, was he was a Gilgul of Shmuel HaNavi, which means his soul was a reincarnation of Shmuel HaNavi. Shmuel HaNavi passed away when he was 52 years old. And now he lived 18 years. So how old is he altogether? 70. That's what he meant. I'm almost like 70 years old, which means he was 18. But if you consider where he's coming from altogether, between both lives, he's 70 years old. And what did he say? Even though I'm almost 70 years old, there's a chisi shitami tis mitzayim b'leilos. I never sort of succeeded in showing that you're supposed to mention our going out of Egypt at night. We know we're supposed to mention it every day. Does it have to be by day and at night, or just once a day? Until someone came along, his name was Ben Zayma, and he proved it. It says in the pasuk, remember the day that you went out of Egypt. Remember all the days of your life. Now we know that in Torah, every word is precise. And therefore, why does it have to say Kurl, all the days of your life? Why can't it say, remember going out of Egypt, the days of your life? As long as you live, remember it. Why does the word Kurl have to come there? So he said like this, when it says remember it all your life, it means Hayamim. You should always remember it by day. The fact that the Torah adds the word Kurl Yemei Chayecha, this comes to include something which wouldn't have known, that you should also mention Yitzid Mitzrayim at night. That's why we say the Shema by day, and at the end of the Shema we say, I am Hashem your God that took you out of Egypt, and we read the Shema at night, and we say it again, I am Hashem your God that took you out of Egypt. So we observe this mitzvah by day and by night. That's Ben Zayma. The sages, they said something additional. And they said like this, Yemei Chayecha, when it says, remember Mitzrayim, your entire life, it means Olam Hazeh. It means during this lifetime. Why does the Torah add the word Kail? To include that even when Mashiach comes, we'll still be remembering Yitzis Mitzrayim. In other words, I would think that once Mashiach comes, there's no point in remembering going out of Egypt. Once we experience a redemption that's so much greater than going out of Egypt, then what's the point of mentioning going out of Egypt? Will something much greater happen? I mean, to use the analogy, if somebody, for example, won $10,000, they're very excited and they're all excited about it. But if a few weeks later they're going to win $10 million, they're not going to celebrate the $10,000. Like it's already included. This is much greater. So the Chacham say the pasuk teaches us that even when Mashiach comes, we'll also be remembering Yitzis Mitzrayim. And there's a whole Sicha which we'll also hopefully learn why. But in this Sicha, the Rebbe is saying the theme of the Kinus is another way of reading these words. All the days of your life. Lahavi, in this context, it means to include. But Lahavi in Hebrew also means to bring. All the days of your life, you should bring the days of Mashiach. In other words, it means all the days of your life, make an effort to bring the days of Mashiach. So the words are the same words, But once you have that different interpretation, that the lahavi means to bring, so we understand that there's another message here, that you should always make an effort to bring. That's what the Rebbe is talking about now. Let's look back at the Sicha, see the Rebbe's words, and let's also explain the other side of the sheet. We'll get there in a moment. But let's look at the Rebbe's words here now. So the theme of the Kinus is Kol Yemei Chayecha Lev Mashiach. So the Rebbe explained, what does it mean? Holy, what?
Oh, which line is it where it says following make
In the Sicha?
Yeah.
That's at the bottom of page 96, and the second column, all the way at the bottom, it says Kol Yemei Chayecha Lahavi. Again, the word Lahavi is emphasized, because that's the key word. Normally, Lahavi is interpreted as to include something that we can learn, but Lahavi also means to bring. And it means like this, Kol Inyani Aveda, which is everything that we do. Remember, the Rebbe's point was that, what does it mean that now is the time to talk about Mashiach? It doesn't mean to abandon all the other things we've been doing until now. We're going to continue with everything. Mivtza Neshek, Mivtza Sefer Torah, Mivtza Chinuch, Mivtza Avis Yisrael, Mivtza Mezuzah, everything, all the Mivtzayim will be continued. But now, they all have to have another dimension to it that will find a way. It should all lead to Mashiach. Kol Inyani Aveda. Then the Rebbe has in the parentheses something even more powerful. B'chol Yemei Chayecha, every day of your life. And not only that, but B'chol Yom Matzmai, in the day itself, B'chol Prati V'shoyz Hayom, every hour of the day, every moment of the day, Tzrichem Liyas Chadurim, a person should be permeated with Lahavi L'Meisa Mashiach. With the feeling and the desire to do everything I can to bring Mashiach. So for this, I want to show you the second side of the page of the sheet that I gave you. Oops, I picked up the blank one. See, okay, this sheet, the other side of this sheet that I gave you. This is from the davening. This bracha is a bracha we're asking for Mashiach. The bracha before it, we're asking for the Beis Hamikdash to be rebuilt. And this bracha is asking for Mashiach to come. Speedily cause the scion of David, scion means the descendant of King David, your servant, to flourish. Increase his power by your salvation. And then we say, Ki l'shuascha kivinu kol hayom, for we hope for your salvation every day. It's very interesting that this is the English translation, because that's not what it says in the Hebrew. Look again in the Hebrew. Kol hayom. How do you translate kol hayom? All day. Every day would be kol yom. Kol hayom means every part of the day. And the Rebbe spoke about this more than once. There's a famous commentary of the Chidah, and he says, what does it mean, these words, ki, because? In English also, for we hope your salvation every day. He says something very powerful. That even if Yidden would have no other merit at all to bring Mashiach, the mere fact that they hope for Mashiach every day, that alone is enough to bring Mashiach. But what does it say? Not just that we hope for Mashiach, but we hope for Mashiach kol hayom, the whole day, which means every day of my life and every moment of the day. Yes.
What if the year doesn't have any, let's say you're talking about a year that doesn't have any merits, and then it's someone who hasn't spent time, or hasn't spent all day of their lives thinking about Mashiach, maybe they haven't even spent one day thinking about Mashiach. How does that relate?
How does that relate? So Mashiach will come in the merit of those that do it. In other words, this person, I'm not judging, but it could be this person won't be one of the people that are instrumental in bringing Mashiach. And Mashiach will come because of what other people are doing.
That Mashiach will come in the merit of the
The commentator is called Chidah. He was a very famous, very great Sephardic tzaddik. He lived about in the times of the Baal Shem Tov. And I think he wrote something like 70 or 80 Sforim, books of Torah books. And he's the one that says this. The only thing is people will say, come on, let's be real. How can you just think about Mashiach every day and every second of the day. And even though it's a painful example, but the only thing I could relate to is, if you think of what's going on in Israel now, Rahman al-Islam, those families that have family members held hostage, how often do you think they think about them? How often do you think they think about they want them to be released from captivity? Once a week?
Constantly.
What? Constantly, every day and every moment of the day, it's on their mind. There's no mother that's going to stop even for a moment. And not because she says to herself, I should really be thinking about it. It's just natural. How could you not? Someone that you love, a child, a parent, a brother, a sister. So that's really the point. If one would really appreciate and understand what Mashiach is about, and appreciate how Golus is something which is the worst thing that could happen to a Jew, to be in Golus. One of the things that just happened this week, which was, we spoke about this, one of the incredible Mashiach revelations of the week, is what happened with Syria. That fact that Syria was Syria fell, and I told you, was it yesterday, 2 days ago, that it says in the Medrash, and that's the exciting part of it, that when Syria will fall, that's when Yerushalayim will rise. That's when Mashiach will come. And there's a pasuk that actually says that Yerushalayim will stretch until Syria. There's a very clear connection between Yerushalayim and Syria. And in fact, I also mentioned it. If anyone wants, I can send you the video. There was somebody from the consulate that he met with the Rebbe on some Torah. This was after the war with Syria in 1973, the Yom Kippur War. No, after the 6-Day War. It's called the Yom Kippur War. And then Syria attacked. And the Rebbe said that why doesn't Israel go in and conquer Damascus? And the Rebbe said that Damascus is the main source of everything. This is like a centerpiece in the whole thing, in the whole picture of all the terrorism that's going on, which now is becoming out more and more clear. And in fact, they called the people, both the mayor and all the people in the government. And the reason why they didn't do it at the time was, even though they heard the Rebbe's message, and apparently they took it seriously, was because they were afraid of Russia's intervention. But the Rebbe was saying, and the Rebbe said to him, that as long as Damascus stands, then Yerushalayim can't rise. And when Damascus will fall, that's when Yerushalayim will rise. Mom is those words. So this is really an incredible thing. Why did I bring this in?
Why specifically say that? Like isn't there other ones that,
I know the reason Begashmi is, I just don't know the reason Beruchni is.
because they had the war?
Now, Begashmi is the reason is because that's where the main thing here is Iran, but Iran was using this terror group called Hezbollah, and how are they getting them? Look at the weapons that they had, look at the ammunition they had, lasting for hundreds of thousands of, they sent thousands of missiles to Israel, and they still have more. Where did it all come from? Iran, and where do they keep it all? Mainly in Syria. That's what Israel's doing now. They're bombing all these places, all the things that they had. That was stockpiles of chemical weapons and other kind of weapons. So I started to talk about this for a reason. What was the reason? How did I get to Syria? No one remembers?
Yeah, points.
What? Yeah, but why did I wanted to bring something out? Okay, it'll come back to me. Anyway, so the Rebbe says, now there's another thing, another emphasis here. It says, to the days of Mashiach, plural. What does it mean, plural? It should say, it'll bring Mashiach. What does it mean by the days of Mashiach? Which means, when the Gemara wants to say that there's an extra word to include something, it uses the word l'rabbis. L'rabbis means to include. Lahavi means to bring. The fact that they chose this precise wording is to allude to this fact that we have to also bring Mashiach. So not only does the shliach stand, umachak, and wait, shemashiach yaveh. In other words, I'll wait for Mashiach to come. But and when Mashiach comes, he'll take part in the celebrations. And he'll enjoy it. No, lahavi, emphasize. He does everything that he can, lahavi l'meisa Mashiach, to bring the days of Mashiach. And what is it, the plural? Not just to bring that first day that Mashiach comes, but Yemesa Mashiach. We know that once Mashiach comes, there are going to be many stages, how different things will happen. The Beis Hamikdash will be built, and there'll be Tchias HaMesim, and even in Mashiach himself, those of you that learn the Rambam know that there's two stages of Mashiach. One stage where it's Becheskas Mashiach. Remember, we learned that in the classes, which means this is the first stage that Mashiach shows certain signs that he's the person. And then when he finally is able to bring all the Jews to Israel and build the Beis Hamikdash and succeed with everything, then you know that he's Vade Mashiach, that it's irreversible. So even if you bring the first stage of Mashiach, don't be satisfied with that. We have to work hard till we bring the complete stage of Mashiach, which is Mashiach Vada. So this is the mission that the Rebbe charges with, that we should be busy constantly with bringing Mashiach, and this should permeate everything. Let's continue now on page 97, where we left off. So it's page 97, where it says Tezvot. V'hi ratzon, may it be the will of Hashem. Sha'idei shekol shliach yamala es tafkidei b'shleimus. If every shliach will fulfill his mission in a complete way, what does it mean complete? B'chol eser keiches nafshei. He will invest all the 10 faculties of his neshama. Chassidus explains that every single person has 10 faculties. We know there's a way you can do something and you invest yourself in it completely. And there's a way you can do something that you do it, but you're also not in it completely. You have other things on your mind that are just as important. So if a shliach will invest all his 10 faculties in this, and all the shluchim together, Yisavdu will unite the constables, and they will invest themselves in this, they will go into it. Yaviyu, this will bring take of miyad mamish as agilui v'shleim shaloi. By the way, why does the Rebbe keep emphasizing all the 10 faculties? Because in a different Sicha, the Rebbe wants to explain that the word shliach has the same gematria as the word Mashiach. Mashiach is 358, and shliach is 348. Oh, wait a second, it's not the same gematria. So the Rebbe says, if you add the yud to the word shliach, which means the 10 keiches, the shliach will invest all those 10 faculties, then it'll be the gematria. Mashiach will be able to, that'll bring Mashiach. And through this, we will bring a shliach ha'ikri, the main shliach, v'amiti, and the true shliach, together with all his 10 faculties. Who is that? That's Mashiach. Like the pasuk says, shlach na b'yad tishlach. Hashliach shebedareinu, and that's the main shliach in our generation, where Kedushas, Mori v'chami, the Rebbe, my father-in-law, the Sida Reinu, the Nasi of the generation. And as it was in the previous generation, that the Rebbe, my father-in-law, Misached, became one with his father, obviously alluding to the Histalkus, to the passing where he became one with his father. And he was his one and only son. Now, now we have all 7 branches of the menorah, all 7 generations. This is sort of the way the Rebbe would allude to himself in some sort of a camouflage way, but it's pretty clear what the 7 generations are and the 7 branches of the menorah. Yeah. I guess his father-in-law, the Rebbe Rashab, was sort of there, and the Rebbe Frierdiker was here. There was some sort of a distance between them. With his passing, he became more united with his father. So it was a camouflage way of saying after the passing of the Frierdiker Rebbe. After the passing of Frierdiker Rebbe, who was the 6th generation, now we have the 7th generation. Which means we have all 7 branches of the menorah. Yes, Amy.
Is there ever saying that there's one Rebbe, or is all 7 of them part of the same menorah?
All 7 are part of the same menorah, that's true. But each generation, there's that Nasi of that generation. but they're all connected.
And how does the menorah relate to this concept?
Because the menorah has 7 branches. The reason why the menorah has 7 branches is because I guess there are many tzaddikim, and each tzaddik sort of has his path. So even though there are hundreds and thousands of tzaddikim, in fact, the Gemara says, even Nevi'im, just prophets, there were 1,200,000 Nevi'im. But if you also think of the Tanoim, Amoraim, Rishonim, Achreinim, all the sages throughout all the generations, there were hundreds and thousands, millions of them. But nevertheless, they all fall into 7 categories, 7 groups, 7 ways of serving Hashem. And that's what the 7 branches represent. So when we talk about the 7 Rabbeim, it's also the same thing, that each Rebbe is connected to the other Rebbe, and all together they're working for the same idea. But nevertheless, each branch has that path, that specific, unique thing that's related to each Rebbe. And this will be something which we'll talk about more in Basiligani, about the difference between each generation and what is the significance of the 7th generation. The main thing is, being that we already finished the Avodah of Shlichus, Nigash Kol Shlich Ala Mashaleach. Every Shliach goes to the Mishaleach. Who's the Mishaleach? Who's the ultimate sender? And Shlichus HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And you say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Asis Yesh Shlichusi. In Gemara, there's this concept, when someone is sent as a Shliach, Shliach has a halachic ramification. I can appoint a Shliach to buy something for me, to do something for me. A man can even appoint a Shliach, like Yitzchak did. Avram did. He appointed a Shliach, Eliezer, to bring, to make that Rivka to become engaged to Yitzchak. So a man could actually make a Shliach that he should give this woman a ring, and on that basis she becomes married to somebody. So shliach means someone that I can delegate my authority to that person. So there's a halacha in Gemara, certain situations where the shliach has to come back to the one who sent him and say, I fulfilled the mission that you gave me. So we go to Hashem and we say, Hashem, we fulfilled our mission. Now you fulfill your mission. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu was also a shliach. How does that? Who's the shliach from? So the Rebbe brings the pasuk Magid Dvar L'Yakov. There's a pasuk in Tehillim. We say it in davening. It's the part that's shortly after Ashrei, the last line in the Siddur, by the Hashluchim, where it says Hashem tells us and gives us His laws and His statutes. So the Gemara says, a king usually tells people what to do, and he himself doesn't even do it. He just tells others to do those things. But Hashem is not like that. Whatever He tells us to do, He does. So therefore, if He tells us to keep Shabbos, He keeps Shabbos. Tells us to put on tefillin, He puts on tefillin. Naturally, He doesn't do the things we do because Hashem is Hashem, but it means He does something in the spiritual realm that's somewhat similar. So I guess if Hashem tells us to be a shliach and go out and spread Torah mitzvahs, so Hashem is also a shliach. How can there be Hashem is a shliach? I guess it means the Gemara says, and how can Hashem daven? What is Hashem davening for? Who's He davening to? So the Gemara says, Hashem daven says, I'm davening that the attribute of mercy should override the attribute of judgment. In other words, it means one aspect on one level in the godly realm should overcome a different level in the godly realm. And of course, there's more details to that. So it means there's a concept of shlichus, and also Hashem should invest all His 10 faculties, which are the 10 spheres. So we're coming to Hashem and say, Hashem, we fulfilled our shlichus. Now do your shlichus, which is to take Yidden out of Golus. And it should be, it's in the page 98. So basically, once we finish our shlichus, we can go back to Hashem and we say, Hashem, we did our shlichus, now you do your shlichus and send us Mashiach, take us out of Golus, and so on. I think we'll probably leave it here. And Friday we'll start a new Sicha. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe actually the Sicha of Vayishlach, like elevating the sparks. Okay. Hatzlacha d'Gedei, everybody.
Mine is 197.
What?
Mine has 197.
We have the other side.
I turn it over and there's nothing.
So take this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. No, I was just something here. Oh, which is rude of you. You know,